So, welcome to Eat Without Fear. And the reason why I named this webinar or masterclass, however we want to call it, Eating Without Fear or Eat Without Fear, is because fear is the opposite of trust, right? I speak a lot about trust, trusting your body, trusting your inner wisdom, trusting your intuition. And we have been living in a world that actually has us living in a lot of fear around a lot of things, especially around ourselves, our own body, our own thoughts, our own feelings and emotions, and forget about inner wisdom. It's very difficult to connect to consciousness, to inner wisdom, when there's so much noise coming through and from the body. Um, Thank you so much for being here and spending your Thursday noon New York time with me. I am always honored to just interact and connect with whoever is receiving these messages, whoever is connecting to what I'm hoping that I'm bringing forward. And today I want to make it a little bit of a moment of introspection for you. So I do want you to walk away from here with some tools that you actually can use and apply to make a little bit of a roadmap for yourself, to understand whatever your goals are. If you get organized enough, if you have a foundation that you can rely on, you can um, navigate whatever difficulty comes to you with much more ease. And the extra layer to that is, when you understand what the difficulties or challenges you are facing yourself, you know who to ask for help. We don't often ask for help until it's too late, until we've crashed and burned, until we're just feeling run down, until we don't know what to do. I like to say that most people come to me as a last resort. They've tried every diet, they've tried um, doing things in different ways, they've tried reading books, they've tried, you name it, they've tried it. And typically they come to me as like, somebody told me to come to you and I don't know what else to do, and I'm not feeling great, right? The entryway, it's usually, I don't feel good in my body. There's something in my body that doesn't feel great. There's something in my body that's making me feel uncomfortable. There's something in my body that I want to change. And I'm going to throw into this conversation a few things that may sound a little woo woo. I love mixing woo woo with science, woo with facts. I like to believe that I'm in an intersection with science, with with inner wisdom. This is going to be coming up a lot in our conversation. And woo, three. There, we need to have 3 points to bring balance to any conversation, to bring balance to anything that we're doing in life. If you only have two forces, they're opposing. There's never going to be an agreement. So if we only have science and inner wisdom, we're missing maybe the energetics of the thing. If we're only too inclined to for the energetics and the wisdom part, we're kind of missing out on the physical, the science part of things. So it's important to have a perspective in everything that we're talking about. But from this end of things, I want to give you an image. I want to give you a little roadmap to the different layers of the body, right? Of the human body. As a human being, we have a physical body. That's the tangible, that's the more earthy version of the body. We also have an emotional body where all of our emotions um, tend to interact and flow. And then we have the thoughts, the mental body. And these are believed to be contained within what you see in the mirror. Okay, I see my body, I feel my emotions, I think my thoughts. Beyond that, there are energetic bodies. We have the astral body, we have different layers of consciousness that expand and continue to expand, but it all then comes in back to our inner wisdom. Inner wisdom cannot be learned, intuition cannot be learned. These are the things that we actually have to uncover. It's almost like a peeling of the onion type of effect. In order to get to know yourself even deeper and better, you actually have to take some layers off. We tend to put things on, and the idea will be to take things off. And that's the process that I like to follow. We start with the physical body because it's the one that we see and that we feel. Let's tend to that. Let's have some tools to support that, understanding the limitations that you are facing, which we're going to go through in this exercise. Then we address what feelings and emotions are coming up through this process. What is it that I'm feeling, not only from my body, but what's going on in my life? And then we can move on, or at the same time, it doesn't happen step by step. Then we start understanding our thoughts and our thought patterns and what we're thinking in that way, right? So some of us are more physical. Some of us are, I feel everything in my body. My body is manifesting how I'm feeling. Many people feel that, and I'm going to be talking about women mostly. So I say people, women mostly tend to, we feel a lot through our body, but we tend to believe that the body is causing things, as opposed to understanding that the body is manifesting things. The body is manifesting how we're feeling and how we're thinking, right? When we're kind of locked into these three layers. What if we turned the corner, turned the coin, and started understanding that our body is manifesting rather than producing? Oh, my body is doing this to me again. Oh, I can't trust my body. Oh, my body is failing. Oh, this is that. The body is manifesting something that is speaking so loudly, but we're not able to hear it, right? When the body starts giving us signals, they are whispers, but we don't know how to speak the language of the body. So the body keeps giving us even more signal. Oh, I have some discomfort in my body. It goes from I'm experiencing symptoms around something. Cravings are part of that language of the body. But we don't listen. We actually fight our cravings. Oh, I shouldn't eat that. We try to fix our symptoms. Oh, something hurts. Let me go to somebody to take the pain away. But we never sit down long enough to understand, what is my body trying to tell me? So the first layer of trust comes through the physical body. Now, some of us are more emotional. A lot of us are very responsive and reactive from a place of emotion. Yes, we may still have a connection to our physical body, but the emotions take over. We get triggered, we react rather than responding. And this is also a response. Oh, why am I so emotional? Why am I so this? Your body is responding to something that's happening in your life through your emotions. And lastly, we have the mental. Many of us are very mental. Many of us are just, the machine is going, going, going. We're exhausted at the end of the day. We haven't even moved physically, but we spend all our energy because the brain takes a lot of energy. And many people are very, very, very mental. And again, when our mind is chattering, when there's so much noise in the mind, it's a sign that the body is trying to tell you something that likely isn't even in the thoughts, but it's a response to something that's going on. So what happens if we try to move beyond that? Well, that's where the magic happens, right? We start with the body. We understand the body gives us sensations. Sensations lead to feelings. Feelings lead to thought, and we kind of park ourselves there. And then we go back to how the body is giving us sensation and feeling and thought. And we stay in that loop. So my intention is to get you out of that loop by getting certain things that are kind of like low-hanging fruit organized. How we're going to eat, how we're going to breathe, how are we going to move, how we're going to sleep, doing some inner introspection work, and making a plan so that these very physical, tangible things that consume our everyday quiet down, so that then you can do the bigger picture work and continue. So I want you to take a few moments, and I would love if you share in the chat. And hi, Danita. If you want to share, stay muted. But however, I do want you to share your name and where you're connecting from in the chat, because I believe it's important that we all know where we're coming from. So we have Greece, we have Brooklyn, we have NYC. And if you're watching the recording of this, Brooklyn too, a lot of Brooklyn people. I love it. if you're catching the recording, I'm going to make sure that there's a way that whoever joined the call can connect as well, maybe in the community or in some way. Connection is so important. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what is it? Why are you here? Why are you in this call? Why did Eat Without Fear attract you? Like, what is something that you wish to accomplish during this conversation? And if you want to share it in the chat, that would be great. And we're going to build a little roadmap. I want to get you so organized to understand where you're going with how you're feeling, right? So the first thing would be, if you were going to give it a title, 3 words is usually great. I want to learn to do this, or I want to release that, or I want to grow in this. That's really, really helpful. So for example, I'll give you an example. My intention for this call is, I want you to connect to your inner wisdom, right? My goal with this call is that whoever watches it here live or in the recording, it brings them a step closer to connecting to your inner wisdom. Now that sounds very abstract, right? That's a big idea. It's a beautiful idea, but it's a big idea. So if anybody wants to share in the chat, I want to use a little of some of your feedback as case studies. So for example, one of you is saying releasing fear, judgment, and anxiety around food and eating. That's beautiful. So now let's take it one step further. What is your intention in doing that? Let's say if you're saying, I'm releasing fear, judgment, and anxiety around food and eating, what is your intention with that? So by using my example, my intention was to help you connect to your inner wisdom, because inner wisdom doesn't have fear, but we can't hear it. It's too buried under the sensations and the manifestations of the body, the weight gain, the hormonal fluctuations, the symptoms around autoimmune, anything that we're feeling in the body, the reactivity of the emotions and the mind chatter of the brain. We can't hear our inner wisdom. Inner wisdom and intuition are a knowing. They're not a feeling, they're a knowing. But we need to have enough calm and stability, simplicity, stillness to be able to listen to it. So my intention in helping you connect to your inner wisdom would be so that you can live a more free life, a freer life, so that you can live a more joyful life, so that you can go about your days knowing that you can trust this knowing that you carry within you, that comes from universal consciousness. We all can tap into that, but we're so consumed by being humans. It's nobody's fault. This is the world that we live in. We're too human. We're too concerned with body, emotions, and mind that we don't have enough space to connect to that. So I would like to learn how to eat intuitively based on cycles, releasing anxiety about what the right foods are, and navigate endo and TTC. Okay, again, the intention. Why? What for? So when we have an intention, it's important to think, okay, this is what I want to achieve because I want X, and maybe that will lead to Z, right? So take yourselves through the thought process. We tend to have the title for the project, let's call this a project, but we don't take it that step further. And why do I want that? And what would that lead to? Right? So another example, I want to accept the fluctuations in my body without judging myself based on external stereotypes. Stop making this my life story. These are all so beautiful. And again, I'll ask you, why? What, how would this make you feel? And what would that lead to? So intention, because this will make me feel this, and that will lead to that, right? So take some time to write that down. So using my example again, I want to help you connect to your inner wisdom so that you can live a more open, free, and fulfilled life, trusting your deep knowing, because that will lead you to be in any situation life brings at you and know what to do. Because even when your mind is chattering and your body's feeling this discomfort, you still feel inner peace and safety within yourself. because regardless of what you look like, you can already feel joyful and peaceful and happy and grateful, right? That's another thing I wanted to talk about. A lot of people come to me and say, you know what? I want to lose X amount of weight, or I want to heal this autoimmune issue that I have, or I want to balance my whole hormones so that I can feel happy, so that I can feel complete, so that I can feel like myself again. What if I told you that you can feel happy, complete, and like yourself again while you're resolving what is happening? So we don't, it's not such a transactional thing. Everything happens at the same time. So if you're holding off on feeling how you want to feel until you look or resolve what you want to resolve, you're kind of putting a timeline there that, because you don't know really how long it's going to take, you're not enjoying it. We're kind of missing the whole point, because we're very linear. We want to go from here to here. And that's why, unfortunately, we rely on diets, because diet typically tell you, lose this amount of weight in 12 weeks, heal this thing in 3 months, 6 weeks to X, Y, or Z. So we see a timeline, and then you believe, oh, in 6 weeks, I'm going to be happy. Oh, in 3 months, I'm going to feel fulfilled and like myself. What if we say, while I pursue this thing, this intention, I know I can already start feeling great. I know I'm already going to start feeling all the things that I want to be feeling. And this, to me, is very, very important, because you're bringing to your energy, you're bringing towards you already how you want to feel. You're bringing the future to you. It's almost like time travel in a weird way, right? Like, oh my God, why don't I just start looking for ways to feel how I want to feel while I pursue this other thing? So let me see. So, Christina, you added, I want to clear the noise, clear the space to be able to reconnect within myself. All right. So I'm gonna ask you there, what would that lead to? Right. And this is something you can continue working on throughout the week. I want these questions to stay with you, because sometimes we're like, okay, now these are the answers. That no, it will continue to come through you. So once you reconnect within yourself and you feel untethered, what would that lead to? Right. So if I'm telling you, I want to help you connect to your inner wisdom so you have a more free, joyful, fulfilled life, trusting yourself, so that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, so that you can travel and feel free when you travel, so that you can change careers and feel confident in doing that, so that you can be present every day in your life with your family, your children, your partner, and actually feel like you're living your life, right? And you can keep digging on this. And what would that lead to? What would that lead to? So typically, what something I see is, it typically ends in, finally I'll be able to help somebody else, or support somebody else, or help the collective, or change something big, right? But notice how it starts with the self. You have to help yourself, especially in a day, like these days, in the world that we're living in, and where there's a lot of turmoil, and many of us feel called to help the collective, help the community. You need to help yourself first. And I'm not saying that from a narcissistic, egotistical point of view. But imagine I'm sitting here. You came to my talk today to learn how to eat without fear, to learn how to trust yourself. And I'm giving you this spiel, but I will be here like this. And, you know, they gotta be like this. You're gonna be like, I gotta go. Actually, I forgot I had another appointment, right? I take pride, and I understand that I need to care for myself. I need to walk my talk before I go help you, anybody else. Because that, I feel, is will be very narcissistic of me to be like, I'm gonna help everybody, and I'm over here like I can't even walk, talk, or move because I'm exhausted, right? So helping yourself, holding that time and that space for yourself to investigate, to organize, to know. And let me tell you something, it doesn't have to be complicated or overly difficult. You can make it so simple. That's another thing I notice when I work with women one-on-one. Christina has been with me for a while. We start simple, but we take it to a place where it's so ridiculously simple that a lot of people are like, why did I even pay you money in the first place? I'm like, go look at all the things you have to chuck out the window to get to that place, right? We live in a world that piles information onto us. And now we're living in a technological time where information is even more rapidly available. Our brains are overloaded. You know how they say that we only use like 10% of our brain capacity? The other 90%, some believe, is open so that we can bring information and process things. Imagine it's like if you are in a packed room, you can't move. So there needs to, but we're packing it with junk and we're not even doing it on purpose. TikTok, Instagram, right? Everything is information, bits of information, 30 seconds, 60 seconds of information. So one day of you, I mean, walking down the street, you'll come home with 100 new pieces of information between something you heard, something you saw, something you read. So there's a lot of confusion, right? So we're going now from the intention. I love all of these intentions. Um, what are your limitations? What is limiting you from from achieving that? You know what you want to achieve. You have your headline. I want to feel this because it will lead to this. It made me feel like this and it will lead to this. So what's preventing you from doing it? So spend a few moments thinking about that. What is preventing me from feeling how I want to feel, from looking how I want to feel, from doing the things in life I want to do? And I'm going to give you a few common examples that I get. I don't have time. I don't have money. It's too difficult. It's it's boring. These are like the top ones, and these are the top four reasons why we don't do things. It's too expensive, or or we don't see the value in it. I don't want to pay for it, or I'm questioning why it costs so little. There's a financial, there's a money resistance. I don't have time. It's too difficult or complicated. I can't make space for that. Or it's boring. That's why we drop things or don't even start, right? So within that, you may have even more nuanced one. I would love for you to share some in the chat to use as an example. They all have a way around them. They usually are a resistance that we have, that there's a fear. There's a fear in why we're not doing that. You could probably be like, absolutely, this seems boring. But notice how many times maybe you have wanted to do something. And let's say you're like, okay, I met Paula and I really want to work with her, but I literally financially I can't do it right now. It's a valid reason, right? Or I the times of her calls are not accessible to me, so I'm not gonna do that. Or she sounded too complicated for me right now. I need to think about it more. Or no, I don't, that seems like a lot of work or boring, or I don't want to do it. But let's say you go through those four filters and you're like, actually, I could find the money to do it. I know that I could probably make the time. I know that she's going to help me actually get organized and it's not going to be as complicated. And she doesn't seem like a boring person. I'm using myself as an example. She doesn't seem like a boring person, but I still not doing it. There's still a block. There's a fear. Why? Because we fear what we don't know. You don't really know me. Christina knows me, but you don't really know me. When we don't know something, our body, emotions, and mind trust what we know. That's why, unfortunately, we stay in a lot of situations that we know we should have gotten out of a lot earlier, in relationships and work and how we're caring for ourselves. But we know that. And it's safer sometimes for us when we are not fully aware of what's happening, to stay in something we know, even though it's not the best for us, as opposed to trying something new. So how do we get over that fear? We sit down and we look at the facts. Am I really resisting these things for factual reasons, or am I afraid of what I don't know? And usually, when you know that you are talking yourself out of something, out of a job, out of going somewhere new, about trying something new, there will be sensations in the body. There will be something. That's your inner wisdom telling you, do it. But you're like, no, it is physical, mental, emotional, right? So, um, Christina, that makes so much sense. I always refer to adulting being so hard, but to get out of this work home rut is suddenly two touch points. And you are the missing part of this triad. I love that you're seeing how it's a three, right? The energy of three. Two opposing forces bring the neutral one. Um, Fear the work that goes into it. People want an easy fix and avoid commitment because of the fear of failure, absolutely, or something seeming too hard before trying. Yeah, so for you, this idea of difficulty, hard, it seems to be a resistance. I invite you, all of these answers that you find for yourself today, especially in your limitations, notice where else in your life you are feeling the same. Because there's a theory I love, and it's the way we do one thing, we do everything. If you feel that your relationship with food, your body, and yourself feels like there's a lot of resistance to difficulty, to hard work, to do this, go look at how you're managing your money. Go look at how you're managing your relationships. Go look at how you're managing your work. There will be parallels. We are one. We're a bunch of parts of us clumped into one, and we tend to have one driving the bus for most situations. Learn to know your patterns, right? Learn to understand. And an easy way to learn what your patterns are, think of the last time, for example, to use your example, Christina, think of the last time you tried to do something that felt hard, difficult, complicated. You can close your eyes and think about that and notice the sensations it brings up for you emotionally, mentally. And then try to think of the first time you felt that in your life. So let's spend a few moments doing that. Think of the last time you felt resistance around doing something that you felt, this is going to be really great for me, but either sounds difficult, or I don't want to pay for it, or I don't have the time for it, or it's going to be boring. Notice how that feels in your body. If there's like a contraction, if your heartbeat changes, if your breath changes or shifts. And then try to see if you can find the first time in your life when you felt that. And again, if it doesn't come up for you during this conversation, think about it, or don't think about it. Allow it to come through for you as the week progresses. If you can, these kind of journaling introspection thing exercises, you write as much as comes up for you, and then you let it go, and then you allow, and then you come back to it. Give yourself some time, okay? Because sometimes it's like, oh my God, I don't remember the first time I felt that. You probably did like this, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time. So those are typically the difficulties I hear when women are like, I want to learn how to trust my body to like feel like this, but I don't have this, and this and that. So from there you go, okay, so if I feel like I don't have time, if I feel, so to continue with your example, Christina, if I feel like it's so difficult, what are some tools that I need when something feels difficult for me? Or what are some tools that I need when something feels boring? Or what are some tools that I need when I feel like I don't have time? So write some of those down, if you want to share in the chat, but I'll give you some examples. So what if somebody tells me, well, I just don't have time? The first thing I have them do is like, go look at your calendar. What are the things there that need to be there, and what are things that do not need to be there, right? How can we triage? How can we organize your to-do list and minimize or get rid of things that maybe don't even, sometimes we fill our time, right? If one of my blocks, if one of my limitations is that I feel like I never have time, chances are you are adding to that. Even the busiest people, I met women that have, I've worked with women that work ERs like 48 hours in a row. Like, it's like literally time is precious. And we always find how they've been adding to that time with things, right? If you have limitation, feeling like things are difficult for you, how are you maybe contributing to something being more difficult? And these are the moments where it's like, I don't want to look in the mirror. I don't want to, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to feel like I'm causing my own predicament. And this is not a blame or shame game, but oftentimes we are. I have a block, and this is one of my long, long stories from childhood with the financial aspect of things. I either feel like it's too expensive or it's not expensive. I'm always trying to find an excuse. Even if I have money in the bank, I'm always like, well, this money could go to something else. And it's a long story that I have since I was a child because of how I grew up, where for reasons not related to me, little girl me, things that I needed, first said like books and my school uniform and something were not provided, even though there was the ability to do that because my mom, being a human being, had her own set of bag of things that she dealt with, and that was her response to doing things. When we needed something, there was no money, there was nothing, we can't do it, but you're living in a nice house and there's food and everybody seems healthy and happy, but there was money to spend on really weird shit. So I grew up with this distorted idea. It's like, oh, the things I need I cannot pay for, but other random things are fine. I thankfully I caught myself. I never went into the buying random things space, but I did grow up with this, oh, I don't know if I can pay for that type of thing. And it's taken me a long time, and it's still there. It's still, I recently signed up for a business course, and it was the stress response my body went through signing up for that was I never felt. I was like, oh my god, I'm living this in the moment, right? Like I had to pay that, and I was like on the computer. I was like, I'm having a heart palpitation, and I really want to do this, but the conversation started happening in my head, and I'm like, okay, I know what's happening, and I was doing. I was like, it happens every time. Every time I want to sign up for something, a workshop with a yoga teacher I love, it's there. But now I know, right? So it's like me and the parts of me and all that stuff. So learn to almost love your limitations. One of my teachers like to say limitations create style. When you know what you're dealing with, you know how to work around it. It's not owning you, and you can talk yourself through it and you can manage it. So that's the invitation. Once you know your limitations, what are some tools that you can bring into that? Is it getting organized in, how to set yourself up? Is it a lot of people, a lot of women come to me, and when their food, their meal times and their food compass, the whole food category is disorganized, and like, I just don't have time to go to the supermarket. Like, you don't have any time to, and surely enough, we find a Sunday afternoon or Instacart or some way to make it happen, but we had to clear some stuff up, right? A lot of people feel bored with their food. Oh, I'm just eating the same thing all the time. Well, let's bring in some new spices, new ways of cooking that are simple, and et cetera, et cetera. So when you know your limitations, you know what tools to bring to help you, right? Once you know your tools, how do you put this into action, right? And what I'm giving you again to remind you of how this connects to Eat Without Fear, when you know what you're dealing with, when you know, fear gets removed, because we fear what we don't know. And because we don't sit down, we don't have tools to sit down and map out what the thing is that we want to do. It's a big unknown, right? And when things are a big unknown, we're just going to be like, I'm not going to go there, right? So what's your headline? I'm recapping. What's the intention of you achieving this headline? What are the limitations preventing you from achieving this that you believe in this moment, right? What are some tools that can help you with those limitations? And then the next step is, how do you put these tools into action? What do you need to get prepared? Oh, I know if I need to get organized to cook my meals, I'm going to put in my calendar that this day I'm going to go food shopping and I'm going to make 3 things this day and this day. Or if a lot of people have a lot of resistance around exercising, I have all the time in the world to exercise and um the desire to do it, but it's just not happening for me, because you're probably trying to do some exercise that your body or your mind or emotions don't like, right? So, or you're trying to do it at times that are not realistic, or you have an idea, you think everything is there. And again, I'm keeping this very foundational: exercise, food. Wait until we start talking about what's going on in your work, what's going on in you. Are you angry? That's one of my favorite questions. Every time I ask a woman, by the way, more woo, I am clairsentient. What does that mean? When I work with somebody, I already know what's going on. I know. I don't see it. I'm not a vision person. I don't have spirits telling me what's going on, even though it does feel like a download. It's a knowing. It's not my job to tell you, oh, I see that because your body is doing this and you're feeling like this. I have a feeling that your marriage or your child or your job, that's not my job. My job is to walk you through your own process of awareness, self-awareness. Because when people tell you what they think is happening, you don't even believe that. Me? One of the questions I love, this is one of my trick questions. Typically when people, women, there's a lot of skin breakouts, things would have to do with the skin, acne, rashes, eczema, um, certain particular breakouts when there's heat in the body. Oh yeah, I ate this and my hormones and my cycle and perimenopause, and they always tell me the physical things, right? And one of my trick questions is that, are you angry? Have you been angry about anything lately? Me? No, I'm great. I'm actually doing great. I used to get really angry. I don't get angry anymore. I'm great. I'm great. Really? Okay, close your eyes. Let's breathe. Something comes through. I do a lot of work of my work through energy healing and energy scanning. So we close our eyes, we breathe, I start getting more information, I guide you through some kind of woo woo magical stuff. And suddenly, actually, you know what? The other day, my husband, blah, 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 it comes out. Wow, I didn't realize I was angry about that. Why? Because we have been made to believe that anger means the reaction. The anger means the response. And typically that response is connected to acting chaotic or irrational or violent. None of that means anger. Anger is a feeling, an emotion. I could be angry right now. I actually am angry at a lot of things right now. And I can say that. I don't have to react to it. So a lot of women feel that I'm not angry. You're fucking pissed off. Let's get it out. Because if we don't get it out, it comes out in different ways. In life, when we feel like we're doing too much and we're holding too much and our body's holding, we put it on as a layer. We got to carry it somewhere. I eat so, as another story I hear. And by story, I don't mean story made up story. These are our stories. We are a bunch of stories. But we're like a book. Each person is a book. And if you would approach life with that perspective that you're writing a book on yourself and you don't even know what the ending is, it's a hero's journey. And everything that comes at you could be like, oh my God, where are we going now? So another story that I hear is um, I eat super healthy. I'm eating all the foods and I'm doing this, but I just don't seem to lose weight, or I'll lose it. I have to go through very drastic measures. And then it all comes back up. It all comes back. Chances are it's not the 99.9% of the time, it's not the food. Whose stuff are you carrying in your day to day? What are you protecting yourself against? Or where are you storing all these things that you're doing for everybody else? There's no boundaries. So it's like coats, we're putting layers and layers on. And when we find what that really is, what that story is, and you tap into your inner wisdom, it literally just melts off. It comes off. But We gotta stay with that. Another thing I see people do, they'll do the thing, feel great, lose the weight, everything is healed, I'm fixed. And then we go back to doing all the things we were doing before. So where's the evolution of the self? Transformation doesn't mean I'm going to turn into, I think I used Kate Moss as an example yesterday. Christina and I were talking. I'm not going to turn into Cindy Crawford, even though in my past, in the 90s, I'm a teen of the 90s. That was an idea of mine. I'm going to continue to transform and evolve into my true self. And my true self, if you go to the essence of what we collectively want to feel, we want to feel freedom, we want to feel joy, we want to feel inner peace, we want to feel love. And hopefully, we want to feel that by being authentic. We don't learn authentic. Teach me how to be authentic. Good luck with that. Nobody can teach you how to be authentic. Teach me how to eat intuitively. I can't teach you how to eat intuitively. I can teach you how not to eat how you've been doing it before. That's been muffling your inner, your inner wisdom, your consciousness, your voice. So once you know the tools, how am I going to put that into action? That's where we bring the brain. Oh, I need to do this. For example, let's go back to my workshop idea. I knew that I wanted to do this talk. I knew that I wanted to do it now, in this week, in this time, especially talking, bringing ourselves back to ourselves. I knew what the limitations were, what is it that I'm sharing, what are typical things that I hear. I know the tools. What are my actions? Well, I had to get the Zoom link ready. I had to make some newsletters and invite people. I had to block the time, like very logical. The actions are the logical. Actions are, these are the to-dos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So once we have an idea of these actions, then we implement, then we make the presentation. Okay, this is how I'm going to go about it, right? And then one step further from that is, and then how I'm going to keep it going, how I'm going to retain it. So sometimes we just stay in the action step. We put the actions, we do the thing, but then how am I going to actually move forward with it? How am I going to continue with it? And how I'm going to retain it, keep moving forward, so that I don't go, I'm fixed. And then I go back to doing all the things again. So take a couple of moments, and wherever you are in that chart, in that exercise, see if you can add, if you have a few limitations, a few tools, couple of action steps. I want you to walk away from this conversation today with 3 action steps, 3 things you can implement, 3 things you can present to yourself to start doing the thing that you've been trying to do for a long time. And if you want to share in the chat, I would love to hear that. So my presentation is this. This is the presentation. Here we are. This is the talk. This is what we're doing, right? How do I want to retain this? What is it that I want to continue? How do I want this continue to move forward? Well, I would love to invite you to join us in my community, for example, or I would want to invite you to schedule a call to work with me. I want to bring you in, right? For you, what does retaining mean? Okay, after I start doing this thing and I start seeing the results that I want to see, do I need somebody to help me carry it forward? Paula, Susan, Maria, whoever that is, somebody that you has called your attention, somebody that can help you, knowing now the limitations you have, the resistances, so that they can help you, so that you don't keep going backwards in the wheel. You actually keep moving, even though everything is a spiral. It's not a line. We're gonna come. Oh, I can't. I'm a little stuck in how I'm gonna move forward with this. Let me go back to my action steps. Do I need more action steps there? The action steps are good. Maybe I need to bring in one more tool that I hadn't thought about. Ooh, I discovered a limitation I didn't even know I had. Right? So this plan hopefully will give you a little idea of how to create a roadmap for yourself in building structure for what you want to do. This is what I do every day in my work, and in the very beautiful and excited. I, I am very excited about the community. Christina's in the community. And basically, what I'm trying to do now is bring all of my workshops to the membership so that year round you have all the tools you need to go about your own journey with my support. I'm there all the time because I truly believe that I don't like having to depend on somebody for anything. I'm actually the I don't drink the Kool-Aid kind of girl. Like the moment you tell me like you have to just do what I'm telling you to do, I'm out. So for me to have to give you the tools that you need so that you can do it in your own time, but knowing that I'm there takes it one step further because I want to open the conversations even further when you're like, oh my God, I feel aligned, my body feels great, I look amazing how I want to look, which by the way changes. Oftentimes we realize that idea that we had about how we wanted to look doesn't even count anymore. You're gonna look even better, whatever that means. But what is beyond there? How do I stay connected to my consciousness? How do I continue to nurture and grow and cultivate that connection to my inner wisdom that will keep removing layers? And then it's almost like these stories that used to own you feel so distant in the past. And then you want to share that. And then you want to, and you know what happens is once things really click into place, people are like, what have you been doing? You look different, you feel different. You're like, I can't even describe it to you. It's like I started eating, but it's typically like, well, I'm eating better and I'm sleeping more. It's like, no, you're like deep in it, right? You're like deep in it. I used to be somebody consumed by how I looked to the point that I didn't eat. My thing was not eating. We all have a thing. My thing is I knew very well how to not eat. Oh, I'm intermittent fasting and I'm juicing and I'm a raw vegan and I just don't eat anything at all day, but I'm doing it in a healthy way. That was the latest, 10 years ago. Before that, I smoke cigarettes all day and I drink coffee all day. And at night, I go into a bunch of drugs and then I don't sleep and I'm so stressed out that I'm way 100 pounds. And everybody tells me I feel great, but I feel like dying inside. Right. And the first time, you remember how I told you how to map out how you felt about something, the most recent, and map it back? The first time I felt that, the first time I made the connection that feeling horrible meant looking great, or feeling great meant it had to look horrible. I was a teenager. I was about 17 or 18 years old. And I got this crazy virus. I'm from Dominican Republic. And when you get a Dominican virus, you're gonna die. Like it's like death. And it was a combination of like I had a massive sinus infection, like a strep throat thing. I was throwing up. I had to go to hospital, get IVs for like 3 weeks. They called that one the bone breaker. We name our viruses. That was called the bone breaker. El rompehueso, the bone breaker. I was shriveled up. I remember I had a boyfriend and he would come to my house every day. I made him come every day, and I would sit on his lap, sweating fever, and he would hold me. I broke up with him eventually. I'm like, this guy was like, maybe that's why I broke up with him. He was holding this puddle of me, right? I lost an incredible amount of weight. I felt horrible. I was literally ill. And I remember the first time somebody told me, what have you been doing? You look great, a friend of mine. I was like, what? She's like, I was like this. I'm Dominican. I have a butt, right? I have hips. I had nothing. I was a shrivel of myself. That was a seed that was planted in me. The worse I feel, the better I look, or the better I look, the worse I have to feel. And I chased that my whole life through drugs, partying, cigarettes. And then, like I said, the most recent bout in my 30s was I'm a raw vegan. I I even considered, please don't judge me. You are gonna judge me. I consider being a breatharian. I don't know if you know what that means, but it means you only breathe air. You eat air. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, some people can do that. Isn't that amazing? When that hunger came, I was a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years into being raw vegan, which is a long time. I remember feeling like, what if I just eat a rice cracker? And I put that rice cracker in my mouth and I ate all the rice crackers. I cooked rice and I ate the rice. It's only rice. And I started and I started and I started. And it was my body finally saying, thank you. But of course, I was guilty and shame and that started a whole roller coaster that led me to when I was 39. And I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I can't keep doing this crazy. Like, what I would do was I would go on cleanses, barely eat, drink juices, powder drinks. When I was fixed, I went back to eating. It was like a very extended binge and restrict cycle. And then I'm 39, I have two kids. I'm exhausted. I have a full-time job. I was like, I think I've shared this story many times. I went to get a passport photo. They gave me the passport photo. I was like, who is that? My eyes. I know when I'm not well because my eyes change. They were like dead. And I was like, it was a, it wasn't a rock bottom because I had many before that. It was, I've had enough. I've had enough of this. Um, First of all, the amount of money you spend on all this nonsense, the amount of time, like all my whole day was consumed by what am I not going to eat? Now, what am I going to eat? What am I not going to eat? What am I doing wrong? How am I going to avoid that? And I was like, I can't. I'm not going. At that point, I thought I was approaching my halfway point in life. I'm 48 now. But at 39, I was like, this is if I'm gonna spend my then now I'm like, I want to be 120 before I kick the bucket. I want to I feel like I can keep going. At that time, I was like, if I make it to 80. But my promise to myself was I just don't want to do this anymore. And that was my come to Jesus moment, if you want to label it as that. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I figured something out for myself. It took a lot of me. And I was like, I need to figure out how to share this. But in order to share this, it needs order, it needs organization. And that's how this has become what it has become. And it keeps evolving. So anyway, ask me questions. Does anybody have any questions before we go? I want to be mindful of your time. And I know I took you in a little loop, a little spiral. And to connect the dots one more time, fear is controlling, fear is manipulative, fear is what we've conditioned to be in the energy of fear. Freedom and trust is the opposite of that, right? You cannot have freedom unless you feel safe. And safety comes from having a foundation, having tools you can rely on, knowing where you can plant yourself. There's an analogy I love, which is imagine you have a little kid sitting on your lap right now. Your kid, somebody else's kid, a kid, 3 years old, and they're like sitting on your lap, and all of a sudden they get off your lap and they walk, 10 feet in front of you. What's the first thing they're gonna do? They're gonna look back, right? And what happens when they look back and they see you there? They're gonna keep going. And they look back and you're there, they're gonna keep going. What happens if they get off your lap and they look back and you've disappeared? They're gonna go look for you. There's no freedom. We need to have a foundation. And ideally, that foundation is your inner truth, your inner wisdom, your inner trust. We learn from other people. We have a tendency to acquire a lot of knowledge, but are we being what we need? Are we being the version of ourselves that we want to continue to become and become and become? It doesn't end. It opens and opens and opens and opens, right? So I hope that these tools give you a little bit of more, but let's recap them. What's the title of your story? I want X, Y, and Z. What is your intention with that? Oh, this would make me feel this way and it will lead to this and this and this and that. What are my limitations? What is preventing me from feeling this? Make a list. What are the tools that I need to support this? Okay. What are the actions that need to come into place now that I know my tools and my limitations? How am I going to present this plan to myself? How am I going to proceed with it? And lastly, how I'm going to retain it. What do I need to keep on track to stay with what I've decided to do? All right, this is your foundation. This will give you safety. This opens up freedom. And like I said, if you need help, that's what I do. We have sticky points. I don't even know what that would lead to. Some people literally are like, I don't know why I want that. Some people are not aware of their limitations. I don't know. I keep trying. I keep trying, but I just can't do it. Right? If you don't even know your limitations, how are you going to know about tools? I keep doing this diet. I did that. I did Ozempic and I do this and I do that. And the thing doesn't even work. Right? Action takes all that understanding. And then retention is another really sticky one. I'm fixed. First of all, there was nothing to fix. You were not broken. But how am I going to now stay on this path? So let me answer a few of your questions before we go. If you are interested in working together, I'm going to send you an email with info for the membership. It is amazing. You can do a quarterly subscription. It's $333. You can sign up for a year. You get a one-on-one call with me. You have all my workshops. We're going to do everything live in the next couple of months. And as they become live, I'm going to also have the digital versions of them. So you can do things at your own time. The reset, which is my seasonal offering, we're going to do in December between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're going to do the journey early next year. We're going to do a New Year's 40-day ritual to really dig into these sticky points through meditation, food, conversation. And yeah, it's my baby. So if you want to know more about that, I would love, anybody can join. You don't have to have worked with me before. You can be brand new to this. If you want to join with a friend, amazing as well. And if you want to work one-on-one, that's, I have very limited space in that. But if you tell me what your story is, maybe I can help you in figuring that out. All right. So questions. Ask me a question. I demand a question. I'm a responder, so I do really, really well with questions. Should be playing the, is it the Jeopardy? Well, if you don't have any questions right now, you can always send me a question. You have my email. If you receive this newsletter, you are on my email. Christina's all set. Did that bring clarity to you, Christina? Did you feel like you have some tools today? Can everybody tell me if this made sense? That would be a good one. I'm asking a question. Thumbs up or heart, give me an emoji if you feel like this made sense to you, if you feel like you're walking away. Thank you, Candace. Danita, thank you so much. The foundation was so helpful. Yes, it makes sense. It was a great reminder. It is important that you understand, I'll leave you with this, that you have a deep understanding that once you understand what you want and what you're dealing with and how you want to go about it, that's the foundation, right? So sit with yourself, figure it out. If you need help, there are so many people out there doing all different new things. It's not just going to the doctor or going to do a diet or going to the gym. There are people doing amazing magical work. You know, combining, some people call me a nutritionist, a therapist, and a spiritual healer all in one. I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right. So I am very grateful that you all came here today. I will send a follow-up email, Candace, yes, with the community info. And I hope to see you in any of the spaces. You know, I'm in Instagram all the time, sharing nonsense, but trying to just share what comes through me. And if anybody has any requests or questions, follow up with me on email or message me on Instagram or. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.